Hey, it's Joseph here. A few weeks back, I have made a video where I transfer a model from SketchUp side to the Revit side. Actually, I think it's time for doing a video of Revit to SketchUp, so let's get to it. So on the Revit screen, I have this model prepared. I'm not an experienced residential architect, therefore I don't claim to be. So if you have any comments about this specific design, let me know in the comments. I would love to learn from you guys. And if you're also wondering how I got to this specific point, I actually did a recording of myself modeling this. So whilst I was modeling this, I did definitely bump into some of the issues. All of that is recorded, and I left a video that is sort of fast forwarded, and you can find that video's link in the description if you want to check that out. So if you look at the floor plan, level 1 is drawn this way, and level 2 is also drawn like so. And you can certainly see the 3D model here. I can orbit around. You can also use a view cube if you would like. And actually, I spent some time and made it look good on Enscape as well. So whilst modeling this, I did spend some time making sure the materiality is there, so you can kind of see the exterior finish of this house. And I'm sure there's gonna be some issues as I walk into the house. Notice how it doesn't have cabinetry because I only have the countertop. And the ceiling is actually blocking your staircase. So let's go ahead and actually change that, because I don't think that's really nice. So there's my ceiling, and the ceiling really should terminate right here. So what I will do is I'll slice this line here, trim these two. Let's see how that looks like. Alright, that's somewhat okay. Obviously I need to finish this up nicely with the bulkhead, but I'm not gonna go through that trouble right now. I have some rooms, and the rooms are configured. A closet, and another room here. So the bases are there. I think that's enough. So let me close that out. So the question is, how do I bring this model into SketchUp so that it is somewhat meaningful? So one thing that I want to focus on is the 3D view. So I'm just going to make this maximum size. And then what I will do is on File, I will go to Export, CAD Formats, and DWG. And make sure you click on these 3 dots. Usually you don't have to worry about anything else besides clicking on solids. And in solids, I typically click on A6 solids. However, if that ever gives you a problem due to complexity of the model, you can revert to polymesh. But for now, let's default as A6 solids. And sometimes you want to look at the units and coordinates and check whether you want project internal coordination versus the shared coordinate system. In this case, I'm just gonna leave it as project internal, which will be fine. We just wanna make sure all is consistent throughout all the exports that we're gonna do. And often you can go to general and click on different type of format, but this time it's gonna be fine. I'm using 2020.1 version of Revit and 2019 version of SketchUp, and it should be fine to have AutoCAD 2018 format. So okay that, I'm gonna next it. And then when dialog shows up, I'm just gonna dedicate to desktop, and then I am just going to say, and this is going to be Townhome 01, and then I uncheck this export views on sheets and links as external references because I don't really need that, and okay that. And because this model is not complex, it's not gonna take much time in doing so. So let's just go ahead and open that up in SketchUp. So in SketchUp, what you do is File and Import. And then you can see that DWG file there. Make sure we click on Options. And what I want to make sure is Merge Coplanar Faces unchecked, Orient Faces consistently unchecked, and Import Materials checked. You can have all of these checked, but the default doesn't check and it's not really necessary in this case, so I'm just gonna leave it unchecked. However, you do wanna make sure your preserve drawing origin is checked. And if you ever imported a CAD file with the civil drawing and the drawing origin is like miles out, you may actually have a problem doing so. However, if that is the case, then you wanna consolidate that inside of Revit or CAD file before you bring it into SketchUp, because you wanna make sure every time you export and import, everything falls in an exact point consistently. So you want to utilize that drawing origin, and you don't want to have this weird issue of drawing origin being really far. And utilizing scale of model units is fine, although you can dedicate into inches because that's what we were utilizing, but I often have good results just using model units. Okay that and import. And because it is not a complex model, it's gonna import pretty quickly. There were a couple of entities that was ignored. You can just kind of look at that and okay. So I'm just gonna close that. And notice my house has come in colorfully. Now all of these colors are somewhat based on materiality and the layers that they have come into. So you can kind of see that all of these additional layers have come in. So everything from A area to S stairs are the additional layers that has come in from the Revit side. But the nice thing about this is that you can manipulate different floors differently because they all are just brought in as a separate group or components. So for example, this one, windows here, they're all the same type. And if I look at the entity info, you can see how this is a component and there's 4 of them in the model. And if I try to select that instances, you can see that I actually have 4 instances of it, and somehow that one is not. So we're gonna have to match it if we need to. Let's lift the roof and see what it looks like, and the ceiling as well. So all the room and the furnitures came in as I have intended them to be. And obviously we still have that issue of floor not closing up correctly. However, all of them is shown exactly how I intended to be. Let's go ahead and explode this group so everything else is all shown up correctly. So you can see how everything came in, and you can manipulate a little bit, but it's not as easy. Although if you wish to, you can just uncheck the roof so that you can hide the roof. And then if you want to hide all the doors, you can do that as well. But there's not really a way to get rid of the top here. So what I can do is basically select like so, and then see how that's gonna move and behave. I probably want to include the ceiling as well. So there's my ceiling. And then perhaps I can just make this into one different group. So if I hide that group, notice how I can just look into the first floor, unhide that, and then all comes back. Maybe I want to separate the roof as well. So go in here, and then I'm gonna cut that out and then pull it out and paste in place outside, make that into a group, hide that, go in here and then select both ceilings, perhaps not the lower one, so just select the top one only and cut that one as well, and come out, unhide all, and go into this specific group, paste in place so it includes the ceiling as well. And notice I can just lift that top. Maybe I want to keep the roof onto the lower floor, so unhide all and then just cut this out again, come out, paste in place, so that way I can just isolate that differently. Maybe cut that as well, the ceiling, and then come out, unhide all, maybe include with this roof, so I just make that into a group. So hide that and hide this and hide that, and you can see the first floor and then all other as well. So that is actually looking quite good. Maybe we want to merge these floors because there are 3 different pieces. So that is sort of the grouping that I typically do when I'm trying to break overall building apart. And a lot of layering system that Revit has doesn't necessarily work for SketchUp all that well, because we have now floor and then H-rail, the handrail, and then often we have a door and also a frame for it, and it doesn't really behave the way that you expect them to be. So I usually just merge all of them because I want to stay away from the trouble of having all the edges and faces dedicated to a layer. That's not really a good practice in SketchUp. You want want to dedicate groups and components into layers instead. So what I'll do is I'll just click on this minus button here, and then I just move all of them to a default layer, effectively putting all of them into layer 0. And then I have this my way of organizing my layers. So what I'll do is I can just click on this one and then perhaps dedicate that roof into roof layer, hide that. I can certainly break all of this into maybe all 4 sides as walls if it is necessary, but I don't want to go through sorting all of these out at this very moment, so I'm going to skip that part. Oh, I have noticed this one, so I can cut that and then put it back into this bottom layer as well. So hide that, hide that, hide the floor. So I want to keep all of these into a single group as well. So there you go. So maybe I just dedicate this one as a floor. So I can do certain type of layer organization if I need to, but I'm not gonna go through all of that for now, just because I don't really need to do that practice for all the places. So at this point, you might ask, what are you gonna do with the color and the materiality? You can actually go through trouble of sampling this and then actually changing that to meaningful materials. So for example, for the roof, you wanna look at the materials that you have, and then perhaps, so I can just click on this roof tiles and then dedicate that as a roof tile that is coming in really small. So maybe I can just increase the size. There you go. So I can just change the material and then maybe want to make this from green into white if I need to. But I typically just select all of them and use an extension called material tools, and then remove all the materials, remove selection, and basically it just wipes out all the materiality. I can start from here, and if I need to dedicate certain materiality, I can say maybe glass number 1, and then maybe have a little bit of blue tint. Conceptually just works. So have a little bit of transparency, okay that, and then go into this window section and then perhaps make sure I apply that to glass. Same practice over here. Good thing they came in as a component. And I kind of showed this on my other video, but I can also, because this one and this one is exactly same size, I can use component replacer. My shortcut is Shift V, so I can sample this one right here, and then it's just gonna replace. So effectively all of them becomes the same component. So there's a little trick there. And maybe for the roof, again, I can just select SketchUp's own type of roof. So roofing here, maybe I want red roof, and I can easily select that. And then for the walls outside, I perhaps want to have some brick. Maybe I'm going for this brick rough dark. That is including the windows as well. So let me undo that and then just apply specific to the exterior walls, although it is kind of painting inside as well. So if that is the case, I can pull that back out and then just apply it to the exterior face. Let me see how this one looks like. I like that. So I've gone through all of them there. And then perhaps the front receives different finishes. Maybe that one doesn't need to be this different material. So I've quickly went over those, and then maybe I want just a color for the slab line, a darker gray. I actually like how it just turns the frame into darker gray as well. So let me undo that and then make it slightly darker, and then make sure I just apply that to the floor only, and maybe the frames of the windows. Okay, so what I can do is I can select all of these and then right click instances, select all that is not only active, and then actually apply this material, and theoretically that should have given all same color as well. Let me make sure I apply that to this roof as well, and perhaps pull that out into this group. And I want to apply that to door as well. So instances, select that. That is actually function of selection toy that is made by TomTom. It is an extension. And maybe I want to have this glass applied to these panels, and perhaps I need to make them into a component or a group by selecting them. So confirming that it is just the glazing over there with a mullion. I just make it into a group and then apply this color. Therefore, I have the correct color. And this door as well, since it's an exterior door, maybe I want to click on the side so that the door frame also appears with a darker color. So that's pretty much it. That's how you go about materializing inside of SketchUp. And just to kind of humor myself here, I can go to concrete and then perhaps apply concrete material here. But then I can go to vegetation and then maybe turn this corner into grass. And because it's called out as a grass, if I go to Enscape, it's gonna quickly load and show it as grass as well. Let me just change the sun direction. There you go. So it appears as grass and everything looks good. So that is how I go about importing stuff from Revit onto SketchUp side. Certainly you can do this practice once, but just like how I have done with SketchUp to Revit workflow, what if we revise the drawing on Revit side? How do we update onto SketchUp? Let's say a wall extended or the floor plan changed a little bit. What do we do? So let me just show you how to kind of update onto SketchUp side. So let me just go back to Revit side. So let's say the front of the house pulled out further. So let me go to level 1 and then let's say instead of 4 feet this became something like 6 feet here. And then the roof needs to extend, the ceiling needs to extend as well. So level 01, so the ceiling has extended indeed. However, you'll see the roof does not extend further. So here I can just go on to footprint here and then perhaps move that down by 2 feet. Confirm that. And this wall needs to attach to the roof, so I'm gonna attach that. Therefore, everything looks like what it should be. Perhaps I can pull that wall as well. So what we have to import is the wall and the roof. So perhaps what I can do here is select on at least one of the elements, and then I can actually isolate by category. And if I do, you can see that all of these walls are isolated only. I can actually not have all of this. So select all of these here. And then you can just do hide element so that we just show this portion here. I can also isolate just this portion if you would like, but I just wanted to show you how I would go about importing if the multiple elements have changed. And right here, what you will do is go File, Export, CAD format, the same practice, and then Next. And then I'll just give name of wall update number 1. And uncheck this one here, okay that. Make sure you click on leave the temporary hide / isolate mode on the export. So go back to SketchUp side and then go to File, Import. I actually have a shortcut of Control I and then Wall Update. Make sure you look at the options, okay, import, and that wall comes in. It fell in exact same spot as we expect it to be, and that is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna wipe the materiality and then make sure the walls are back onto layer 0. And then I can apply different materiality to this specific one. And all I need is this one and that one and that one. So I'm gonna cut these and then perhaps I don't need those. I can delete that. And then come here, delete those 3 elements there, and then paste back in place. And that one needs to come further out, so I can either re-import or just position this accordingly. So let's just put this up against the wall like so. And then apply the materiality as we intended them to look like. It was actually a different material, wasn't it? So it was actually this material, and I noticed the door has shifted as well. So let's go ahead and amend that and apply that color onto the door frame. And then I can either pull this roof out 2 feet, or I can re-import from Revit side. So I can just undo here, undo. So this roof here, I can either, if it is a really complex model, I can either isolate the category, but I'm just asking this specific roof, so I can just isolate the element. And from there, I have a short key of Control E to export as a CAD file, and then next that, and then I can call it roof update 01. Same practice. Go back to SketchUp and then re-import that roof, and it's going to be exact same thing. So hide that and then make sure this is deleted, unhide, put that in there, wipe the materiality, and that's it. That's how I go about updating it. So that way we can just kind of maintain updating the Revit file into SketchUp, and I can just save this out as a separate file. So this is gonna be called Townhome 01, and then I'll save that out to my desktop. So you have this comparison between the Revit file. Let me just make it into realistic look. Let's do the shadow as well. So I have this one here and then the SketchUp version as well. Although the materiality is slightly different, let's make that into darker roof. So there you go. It's not exactly the same, but it's just a matter of applying the materiality. So hopefully that short tutorial on my own workflow of information from Revit to SketchUp is useful for you guys. If it was indeed useful, please like the video and subscribe to my channel if you want to continue watching these type of contents. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I will see you on the next video. Thank you.